Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Peter Boulden, and our esteemed guest, Dr. Bruce Baird.
You love to say esteemed, by the way.
It's because we get esteemed people on. If we had some joker on, it wouldn't be saying esteemed.
Hey, that sounds great, man. I'm so excited to be back on.
I mean, it's a big deal to have you, man. You've been a tremendous educator in dentistry. You've walked the talk. You've practiced for, God, how many years? 30, 40 years?
40 years.
Yeah, it's incredible. And now I understand it. Are you officially not practicing right now, or are you kind of popping in and out?
I'm popping in. I'm working next Tuesday. I'm doing maybe half a day a month.
So for those of you who don't know, a half a day a month for Dr. Bruce Baird is about $1.5 million of production a year, right? Is that correct, Bruce?
You only want to do the small cases, right?
Yeah. Okay. So
it's a cumulative of 6 full days, which adds up to about 1.5 a year.
Yeah. So Bruce is now working a half a day a month, so it's like $2.5 million of production. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. It's you wish, but I just got to the point where I had some close buddies. When you start to get to be a little older, you start having buddies that aren't with you anymore, and all of a sudden I start going, okay. And it was mainly for travel that I really have kind of stepped away from the chair. I'm still obviously working with Productive Dentist Academy and with Compassionate Finance and with Abella and with all the different things that I have going on the outside. And I'm actually over at headquarters today, Comprehensive Finance headquarters, and we're just doing some year planning and some new things. So I'm still working. I'm keeping interested. What's fun is I get the chance to talk to guys like you, or just talking to different people, and then new ideas come up. And I have to tell you, I was in Australia. We were doing a seminar 3 weeks ago in Melbourne, and I came home and I'm having trouble sleeping at night. And in the daytime, about now, I get sleepy. So so the other night I'm talking to somebody, I can't remember, I was talking to somebody on the phone, but it got my wheels turning. And I literally stayed up all night long, not last night, but night before, working on a brand new Excel business spreadsheet for, something called Same Day Smiles, which you guys will hear about in the future, but I may talk about it a little bit at the summit. But
oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping to get to one point where I don't wake up in the middle of the night, but
Bruce, that's what I call
active.
like the blessing and the curse, right? You're a perpetual entrepreneur and it served you really well. Yeah. But the bad news is you can't turn it off. And just when you've reached the I'm going to travel, I'm going to do some cool shit with you're like, oh, but wait, what about this business?
That's right. That's right. I did the entire business proposal, got the guys who were going in, and thank goodness for Halcyon. I mean, good grief. Last night, 9 o'clock, I was like, I told my wife, I'm so tired. Because I hadn't slept 24 hours. I was like, I'm going to take a Halcyon. Good night. She was like, good night.
Yeah, I find the same thing. I mean, Halcyon and stuff like that doesn't really work for me. I've taken it before, like on transatlantic flights, and I wind up just kind of being stoned and awake, like looking around the plane. But the big curse for me is I have a natural circadian rhythm that slows me down in the evenings, probably like 7, 8 o'clock, and I power through it. And I want to go on my computer or go on the phone, and I power through that natural kind of how you're kind of fading for the day. Then they get my second win, and I'm like up all fucking night, doing stupid shit.
Yeah, now you're host. Now you're host, totally host. And
yeah,
that was me the other night. It was like 4 a.m, and I was like, okay, I'm up. I just went and got my computer out and started with ideas. So it's a blessing and a curse, but if you find ways and things that make you interested and keep your mind sharp, and I'm doing calculations in my head, so I guess I don't do crossword puzzles, but I do that, so it helps.
Yeah, I think it's also it's sleep and productivity goes in waves. I think we're not machines. We don't put in 8 hours of work and then 8 hours of rest. There's bursts of massive creativity and massive rest. You have to unplug. You might unplug for a day or two, or sleep really late one day and then not sleep for 2 or 3 days. I feel good about it. In the end, it all kind of equals out. But I have that curse too. I'm working on something really neat as well. I just I'm going to be not producing, but I'm pioneering a device.
Oh, cool.
We can't talk about it right now because it's all hush hush. So Pete, don't out me. But I got some really cool business partners, some iconic people, and I'm really fired up about it. So I got my creative juices flowing, which is nice.
Good. Yeah, it's fun.
That's the epitome of like a humble brag. I got this really cool thing, but I can't tell you.
Yeah, it was a humble brag. That's how I roll.
Yeah.
Anyway, hold on, guys. I got to take this real quick call. This is Oprah Winfrey. Real quick, okay? Hold on.
Oprah.
Hey, Oprah. Yeah, I'm on with Pete and Bruce Baird. Yeah, the dentist. Yeah, okay, I'll call you back. Okay, no, I'll call you. Don't call me. Okay, cool. Sorry, that was my humble brag for the day.
Bruce, let me ask you something.
Yes,
Because Craig will keep us in a slap show comedy the entire time if I don't pivot back to value and
This is valuable, bro. This is valuable.
No, it's not. We're just entertaining.
Okay, so we won't air this. This is just for us then.
No,
this is not gonna
we're
be aired.
airing it. Remember, we're a podcast of no edits.
Really? We always go live?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I like it.
So Bruce, I was sitting there thinking as Craig was asking you, dentist for 40 years, but now you pulled back because you wanted to travel. Do you, in hindsight, if you had to kind of replicate with all the wisdom you have now, would you have architect your life any different from a clinical standpoint? Meaning you would have said, all right, you know what?
Great
I'm going to have a
question.
little more bandwidth for X, Y, and Z. And
that's a great question. I mean,
It is such a good question. I'm surprised he said it.
and
settle down, Craig.
my deal is, I've always been curious about dentistry. I wanted to be a dentist since I was young, and my grandfather was a dentist. So I just wanted to be the best I could be, and I was always interested in education. I went in the service, so for 4 years I was in the Army. I worked around a lot of good specialists that were very open, and I just wanted to learn everything I could learn, even in dental school. Got out, went through, went to Dawson, went to Mish, did as many courses, spent a fortune, got my education early when I was still, had all that energy. And then at 49, I started working 2 days a week. I did that for 17 years. And I don't think I'd change anything because I was able to enjoy a lot of things. I probably would maybe have backed off a little bit earlier in my career, maybe if I knew then what I know today about being productive, I think I would have been able to ramp my productivity up and take more time off, which probably would have been a good idea.
Can you give an example, like like a real specific of that?
Yeah, you're a young guy, 34 years old, and you got 3 kids, 4 kids. You're spending all your time at the office. You're working 24/7. You're neglecting a lot of things. I mean, I coach my girls basketball. I did that, but I just wasn't there. I think it cost me my marriage, early on in my career. So I think I would love to.
Oh, Bruce, you got divorced? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I got divorced a couple of times, and once when I was, 30, like 40, and once when I was 50. And so now I'm 65, married to the love of my life. But I made some significant time decisions that I might have changed. I might have changed those decisions. Not that I'm not tickled to death now, but it's just, I think it would have maybe made things a little easier. But
yeah, we don't really know that though. I think I appreciate this perspective. It's a great question, Pete. I'm glad you asked it.
Well, someone's got to carry the podcast, buddy.
Someone's got to do that. But Bruce, it's also such that, like look at all the different things you've created. And part of that is born. I think you want something done. You ask the busiest people to do it. And you were working those 2 days a week, full throttle. It narrowed your bandwidth down, and it probably made you come up with the ideas for PDA and compassionate finance and stuff like that. Like I look at it like, would I have done my office different? Because Pete and I are pulling together some of the content still for the presentation. We're talking about the challenges between large offices like mine and several smaller offices. There's pros and cons, of course.
Sure.
And there's also like my name's on the door as well. And it's always, a lot of dentists will say, should I name it with my name on the door? Because now if anything ever goes wrong, including the smallest little billing item, they want to speak to Spodak. They want to speak to the guy that's in charge.
No doubt.
So that there's obviously a detriment to that, but it also provided me with such amazing opportunities as well. So life does not transact in direct form. You do something and you don't understand the benefits or the detriment of it for many, many years down the road. So I think it's a cool philosophical question to ask, but for those of you who are in a position where you're like, why did I do this? There's goodness coming for you. Something's coming for you because of that.
I agree. Yeah. We learn, I feel so sad for those who don't learn from mistakes. You know, when you see those people who have been a dentist for 30 years, they keep banging their head against the wall. They were unhappy when I knew them 10, 20 years ago. They're unhappy now. They're still unhappy. I mean, you know, what I tell people at Productive Dentists, I just say, man, you got to find your happy place. If it's not here, go find it, because you're only on the planet for a short period of time and you need to find it. I did find happiness in dentistry, and I love my patients. That's the thing I really miss more than anything. I love doing the work, but I love the people more than I love just, you know, doing an all on six or doing a new smile. I do love doing those, but it's just the people. And I walk in the office, you know, now, and I go up there just to say hey or to visit. And I see patients that were my patient for 25 or 30 years, and I get to hug them and get, you know, so that's what I miss. And, you know, but I just feel so sorry for guys who make mistakes but never change. And I honestly believe, you know, I'm a work in progress. I'm still changing. 64 years old. I'll be 65 this year. I hope I'm better at 70 than I am at 65. I'm just committed to.
But I feel like the reason you have accomplished so much in your life, because you've probably never been afraid to make mistakes. You've actually almost probably welcomed them, because it's just accelerated learning. And if you take like you're saying, if you take the lesson and you say, what went right and what went wrong, and let's not do that again, because pain is a good motivator, right? The pain of a failure and losing something from it, probably money or time or whatever, is a great educator.
Yeah, more debt, pain and debt, you know,
Right.
are really good motivators.
Yeah.
Time, you don't realize you don't have it until you don't have it. And so you're kind of like all of a sudden you're going like, crap, you know, have two buddies pass away, and now I'm sitting here. What am I going to do? Okay, I better figure this out. But I really do believe, you know, certainly not afraid to fail. I've had business deals that I've done that didn't work out, but I learned an awful lot from it. You guys would have been a fly on the wall here about 2 hours ago, because I was having what I call a passionate conversation with the team about, you know, about how to learn from failure. And it's not something that you should be afraid of. It's something you should embrace, as long as you're willing to change.
I see more people these days, and I don't know if it's just me, my conformational bias, but I see more people not as willing to take risks, especially in our industry. I don't know why. Maybe like I said, I don't have any data or anything to back this up. I'm just kind of saying anecdotally, I see they're being more safe. Yeah. Safeness. Would you agree with that, Craig, or not? Do you see that?
I think, I mean, it's just, this is a gross generalization.
Right. I have no data.
But I do see, I see the landscape being different in dentistry too. You know, we didn't really have viable options for employment when we came out. It was like either work in a hellhole or start your own thing or work with somebody. Mm-hmm. Now you got some pretty decent DSO options. So it's not so binary leaving school. We can actually there's a myriad of choices, and you can actually have a really good job at a corporate office and treat your patients pretty nice, and then, live a little bit, have a higher quality of life.
Craig, before you got on, Bruce and I were catching up a little bit, and we were talking about millennials came in, and I said how you got scolded by.
I got my ass kicked by Mark Cooper. You know who Mark Cooper is, Bruce?
I know Mark real well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Mark, you got it, Bruce. You got to go back and listen to this podcast.
So I'm just like, I just had a comment like that.
Craig.
Yeah. So I just said, some millennials are blah blah blah, and he stops. He's like, hey, can I give you some unsolicited coaching? I'm like, sure. He's like, you are I don't remember, but he just ripped me apart. He's like, the way you talk is alienating people, and if you want to actually make a difference in the podcast and make a difference for people, you will not use that language. And like, he just went off, and I'm like, he's like,
let me tell you, I tell you a good story. We had a lot of our PDA docs who would, we start out there at 700,000, maybe 800, maybe even $1 million practice. And within 3 or 4 years, we've been working with them. Now they're a $3.5 million practice with 2 associates, and they want to expand their business, and they want to get into, or they have corporate knocking at their door wanting to buy them. And I didn't know what that environment was like. So I looked at who I thought was the best there was. And the clear blue, I just cold called Mark and flew to Portland, spent 2 days with him. He was gracious. Then I went up there a bunch of times. We became buddies. And the guy, he's like I don't know,
like
he's
oracle.
Very cerebral,
like an oracle, like very futuristic.
He is. And so I
love that guy. I love him.
love getting to know him, but he's right. And what Pete and I were talking about before was, the millennials now that, we see a lot of millennial dentists that are coming through PDA. And the cool thing is they kind of get it,
Well, tell that example that before we record, you were saying how like they're like, yeah, so it's a dentist, Craig. I'll give a little context, like 28 years old. And go ahead, Bruce, and kind of talk about that.
I mean, they come in and they go, well, and they go through PDA, and in the past, dentists would go, okay, man, I'm going to ramp up to 4.5 days a week. I'm going to
outwork anybody.
I'll outwork them. And these guys are going, what I'd like to do is I'd like to increase my production by 40% and take a day off. And I was like, an extra day a week off. And I'm like, perfect. That's what I ended up doing. But I waited until I was, 46 or 47 before I started thinking that way. They already think that way. And there's nothing wrong with it. I think most dentists, and I'm going to generalize something. Most dentists are just wasting their freaking time in the office. They really are. Their production is so piss poor. They're doing such little amount of dentistry. The rest of the time, well, I hate to say, but they're listening to our podcast, or they should be go sailing, go do something. But when you're in the office, be freaking productive.
Yeah.
And when you're not in the office, go out and have fun with your family and do that stuff. But a lot of dentists feel like they're tied into a 4.5, 5-day week. And truthfully, they could do everything they're doing in 4.5 days in 2.5.
That's wild. That's so true. So I'm just listening to this, and one of my buddies just posted on Instagram the other day.
Wait, you're listening to this and you're perusing Instagram?
No. I wanted to get the data. It's wild to me because I know we're talking in very broad generalizations, and every generation has their aberrations to it all. But there was a poll, and the poll said that more than a third of millennials polled approve of communism in the United States. This is an actual study released
I feel like
by
that's fake news.
No, I don't think it's fake news. Yeah. A new survey released by Washington, D.C. nonprofit Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation. The younger generation vote is more communism. And it kind of goes in with what we're saying. So, I'm sorry.
You know why? Because the parents have given them everything they wanted their whole life. Now they got to go get a freaking job. And now they want somebody else to give it to them for the rest of their life.
I'm going to cut what you just said as a clip and send it to Mark Cooper. He's going to kick your ass for saying that. but
Mark will call you and scold you.
I'm not trying to start a war here, but I'm going to put my money on my man Bruce over Mark. I'm not. I love Mark Cooper. He's a great guy, but somehow I just feel like the Bruce Texan. I got my money on him. Military, 4 years in the military.
Yeah, that's it. But it really is interesting because the dentists today. I actually have a nephew. My brother's a dentist, and his son is now in dental school. Out of the clear blue, and this is kind of cool. He calls me, and we don't talk. I talk 2 or 3 times a year to the kid, but he calls and he says, I've got a whole group of guys together, and we would love for you to. And I just got a text from him earlier, but we would love for you to come down and maybe do an evening. Maybe if you could do it, we'll pool together our money and get a deal. I said, look, guys. I'll come, I'll get the place, we'll serve drinks, it'll be fun. And they just want to know about dentistry. They want to know about being outside of dental school. And I'm like, golly, I wasn't thinking about that when I just wanted to get the heck out. And these guys are, so every generation has.
Well, Bruce, wasn't a company asking, didn't you say before Craig got on, we hit record that like a company was, I don't know, using you as an advisor for kind of millennial generation dentist. And I was telling Bruce that ironically, I was like, do you know that Chris Tuff is going to be at the conference speaking? And he has a book, national bestseller called The Millennium Whisper. And he's going to really give amazing insight as to the generation and how to align everybody and optimize our work environment in dentistry, which is highly composed of millennials now.
Yeah, it is.
Right. So I need to make sure to remember to connect you guys so you guys can get some.
That's the thing that I've been able to kind of break through in the dental field, working with so many practices and working with so many, I'll call it millennial dentists, and what motivates them, what gets them to want to do certain things is different than what it was for you or different for the baby boomer, group. And so, once you address those issues with them, they actually are amazing producers. They're actually very good workers, but they also need things a little differently than we do. So I'm working with quite a few different groups that, because this is the problem. everything's expanding. Guys are building, putting in their 7th practice, 8th practice, 10th practice, and they're going, how do I get these guys to produce? And so I kind of come into a program for them and say, okay, guys, let's look at it differently, and let's figure out a different way of stimulating that.
But the love language, like you said, Bruce, might be, whoops, sorry, guys. The love language, Mike, you said, might not be like, don't talk about money so much.
Yeah, for sure. It's
Talk
meaning
about,
over money.
hey, talk about this time that I'm going to get you so you can go do other stuff like backpack and whatever and hike.
Well, also, I was
at
at
dinner and whatever.
Yeah, I was at the Invisalign. They just made me faculty for Invisalign, and one of the in the inner group, they were saying like, how do we get hygienists to scan more? And there were hygienists in the group as well, and the hygienists all made this like motion to their head when they were talking about hygiene, like, oh, hygienists are like, oh yeah, let me straighten my, and like, what are you guys doing? Like the tiara for the hygienist, and this was even from hygienists. I'm like, yeah, they're worried they don't have enough time. And I just said something. It's like people have to have energy, and the energy is created over your mission, not your position. So we're going to talk about this during the summit. But when you have a mission, when your mission is to help people, it is a lot more compelling than when your position is to make money or clean teeth. So our hygienist, Peter and I, have the Bulletproof Dental Hygiene stuff going on now. So we're training the hygienist.
Maybe didn't even tell Bruce about that.
Oh no. Bruce, I'm sorry. Let me digress just for 1 second. So Peter and I have these rock star hygiene departments, and we're really excited. We think that the MVP of the entire dental practice is your hygiene team. And when they're turned on and they're aligned with what they do, and they have meaning over money, and they have a good mission, they can really light things up. And coincidentally, Pete and I have been working on this concept for a little over a year. And coincidentally, Pete's hygiene department and my hygiene department both grew in 2019, 23% on the dot. Yep. So it's so funny that this
something and it grows, there's no question. I mean, a lot of it comes from, everybody thinks with productive dentists that it's about money, and it's actually as far away from that. It's really about relationships, and it's about doing the right thing for patients and doing what you would do in your own mouth. And then guess what? Productivity takes care of itself. So what we teach is, yes, I want you to at least be able to frickin' measure what you're doing. I want you to at least know where you are on the planet when it comes to your business. Because your team, you're responsible to your team and their families to run a successful business.
Amen. Say that again. You know what? I say that all the time when I'm talking to people, because like,
Pete, you said that to me.
I do, because it's your response. There are, however big your team is, multiply that times 3 or 4, because that's how many people are depending upon them, right? So if you have a team of 50, there's 250 people. So the decisions that you make impact lots of people. So educate.
Still be a good businessman. You can still be a great businessman and really only care about the relationships and the type of dentistry you do. You can be a great businessman. It doesn't take that much. Out of over 1,600 offices that have gone through productive dentists over the years, only six had a budget.
What?
A budget, meaning.
Wait. So the people who have matriculated into your course, right? Only 6 that start of 1,500 that have started with you, only 6 came in with a budget that actually knew their numbers.
So when you say a budget, meaning came in day one and said, "Hey, Bruce, my salaries are 21.6%. My supplies are 4%." Are you saying that, or for next year they don't?
I'm saying here's how to run a business in my opinion, and we do this in every one of my companies. But it's basically, and I've got a good friend who's worth, in the B's, and he says, I only worry about 2 things, cash on hand, cash at the end of every month, and how much are sales. Now I go a little deeper than that. I want to have a budget to actual, meaning I'm doing my own work, budget to actual. Most dentists, yes, they send their stuff to their accountant in February. They get something in the end of March that says, this is what your P&L is.
And they're all lag indicators, which the data means effing nothing.
And of course, Dental Intel says, oh yeah, but we're going to give you all this data to start with. No, I don't want that shit either. Here's what I want.
Chris, I love you.
I want budget to actual. I want every single item in my business budgeted. And then I want to know what my actual expenditures were. I'm only going to pay what I have budgeted. Meaning if my lab bill was $8,000 and I only budgeted for $5,000, sorry, I'm calling my lab guys saying, guys, on the next month, on the 2nd of the month, I'm going to send you the rest of this bill. Then the next month I add 3,000 to my budget, and now I know what do I have to produce. So, and that's why in our practices that we work with, and in my practice, there's never the highs and lows. It's always growing at a, 3 to 5% every year. But we know exactly before the month starts. I could tell you guys when I was busy doing it, I could tell you how much money I was going to make at the end of the month, period. And I could tell you what our expenditures were going to be because we weren't, but if I spent more, then the next month my budget was adjusted and my actual would be whatever it was. So
Bruce,
how do you budget? How do you budget then for staff salaries? So example, your staff is getting up to 25 and 28%. What would you do then? You'd lay someone off?
Nope. That's a great question though. I get that question. I can't tell you how often I get that question. I would produce more.
You increase your top line revenue, Craig.
I call it net zero marketing. And most dentists that come through PDA, they spend 1%, 1.5% of their budget on marketing. And their overhead, we have an average now of around 28% team overhead that's coming through the program. So if you combine 1.5 plus 28, you're now at a combined overhead of those two items of 29.5%. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Now, in my practice, I'm marketing at 8%. Guess what my team overhead is? 17.5. Why? Because I produce. I mean, I'm marketing to people. I don't want new patients. I want new patients who need money. I mean, who need dentistry. I want patients who are train wrecks. Because why? Because I treat train wrecks.
Right.
So if you combine that overhead, 17.5 plus 8, I'm at 25.5% overhead, whereas the guys going through PDA at 1.5%. This is when they first start. They're at 29.5. I will crush anybody. I mean, if I came into your town, I've got 8% marketing. Everyone will know about me.
Right.
If they don't know about you, I mean, they say, well, I just don't like marketing. I just like taking care of people. I would punch you in the nose if you had a piece of technology that was like a laser that treated gum disease, and you weren't out there marketing that, educationally marketing it, saying, hey, you don't have to go through having, your gums flat back and packed. You don't have to do that anymore. And I met you and you weren't marketing, and I met you at a cocktail reception, and I had just had my full mouth scraped.
Yeah, I'd be pissed.
I'd beat the crap out of you.
You are going to love this stuff. So Craig and I are diving deep into this, just what you said at the summit.
Are you going to be at the summit for all the days or just one of the days?
I'm there the whole time.
That's freaking awesome, man.
But
I'm going to have you up on stage with us.
Just like what you were saying, Bruce, if you have X, like the thing that's going to move the needle is creating awareness for what you do, right?
Right.
And we're going to be teaching tactics and strategies to get eyeballs on you and your practice for what you do at a very cheap cost.
Yep.
Or maybe no cost, whatever it may be. I'm just saying scale.
There's two ways to do it. Everybody, advertising is kind of broken. So historic advertising is like make a generic message and spend a shit ton of money putting that message out, like adding boosters to your rocket. Yeah. Or you could actually build a rocket because it's a compelling message because nowadays we have with social media, if it's a compelling message, if it's a really well done message, you don't need to pay a damn dollar, a dime to push it out. So, I mean, like Kim Kardashian didn't have to pay for her fame. She just made a sex tape. Yep. That shit spread on the world in the day.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, no doubt. I mean, I don't think that's going to work for me personally, but I'm going to.
Well, I'm not suggesting that, but I'm saying that,
My point about marketing and net zero marketing, you can spend money on marketing if you're doing the right kind of marketing. We have 40 employees in our marketing company that, I mean, they do things a little different, scripting for radio, just as social media, blog posts, all of this stuff that has changed. Obviously, I don't spend anything on Yellow Pages anymore or any of those things. But the truth is you can spend 8% and guess what? It's going to drive your overhead down. You're not really spending 8%, you're spending 0.
If done the right way. I know a lot of people who have excessive marketing budgets and they're literally wasting, we talked about this, Bruce, about how let's just say you hit the easy button. You're like, I'm going to start marketing, and you bid, and you can get up on Google AdWords in like 30 minutes, right? You can make, and you don't quantify how you're wanting your clicks to be paid. You're like, I'm going to put $1,000 budget in there. And you're like, I want Invisalign or I want veneers. You will pay $13 for those quickly your budget will be
Gone.
evaporated.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you will have zero conversions because people are like, well, what was that? So I'm
Sure.
sorry to get real, like, down in the, very, what am I trying to
Granular. You want to say it, Pete? You want to say granular?
say? I did, but I didn't want you
Word.
to make fun of me.
Bruce,
You know,
there's like 5 words he tries to say every time, every podcast: binary, granular, macro.
Makes me
There's a
look
couple
smart.
others.
I try to keep up with my my esteemed co-host.
That's right. But
So
I'm
esteemed.
100%. I'm 100%. When you have people coming through that don't even have a budget and they're unhappy with dentistry, they're unhappy with where they're at or what they're doing. I'm going like, okay, dude, first of all, let's just get you running a good business. And then
you're running a business,
you
right?
taking care of people. And then guess what? The numbers always take care of themselves.
It's so funny how people make it about themselves when it's really not. I mean, broadcasting to the world what technology you have is really not about you. It's about serving more people, to your point. And then negotiating with a new hire or like looking at supply costs is not really about you and your profit. You may say, like, I've got everything I need. Your team needs raises. Your team wants to do better. Your team wants to acquire new skills. So it's incumbent upon you as a business owner to look out, not just for yourself, but be broader focused to help more people. Tony always says,
"My dirty word, I'm going to, it's a business. Oh, it's a dirty word." No, it's your business. If you had a furniture store, you'd be running it with a budget. You're not going to just go out and buy 500 chairs. You're going to.
I don't know why it's a dirty word, because just like we said, there are people that are dependent upon that business to do well, that practice / business. And it's a business at the end of the day. Like, don't fool yourself. And so I don't know why we have these like taboo words in dentistry, like you don't sell, educate. Like, okay, but everything's selling.
Yeah, everything. Well, that's educating too. I mean, like, why? I just think it's important that that we get out of our own way with that stuff. Number one, but even more so, it's we've got a noble profession. We get to help people. We get to our profit is aligned with the long-term best interest of our customer, which is a really cool thing. There's a lot of businesses that kind of someone has to win and someone has to lose. There's a lot of shitty stockbrokers that the house is going to get paid whether the market goes up or down, and you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yep.
Everything we do is in service to the patient long-term. And the definition of love is looking after the long-term best interest of the person being loved. Same as dentistry. If you're doing it right, we get to win all the time, and the patient gets to win too.
Can I give you guys an example of something that speaks to that? We talk about compassionate finance, and people think, well, I don't want to take any risk. Why would I carry the paper myself? Why would I do it? And I'm like, okay, but let's look at it. Everybody's fighting for the same 20% of patients out there. Those are the ones who Care Credit could approve. Okay, or anybody else, any banking institution, anybody like that, third-party finance. Those are the ones that would approve. But who's helping the 70%? What I'll tell you is this. Our most successful docs, and I'm kind of changing the way I even look at this nowadays. If a dentist was to, first of all, 95 out of 100 crowns done today in the U.S. are done one at a time. One at a time.
Wow.
And in other words, you're not doing 3 crowns, you're not doing 4. Why is that? Well, the reason is because you tell the patient you need 5 crowns. And the patient says, oh, okay, well, how much will my insurance cover? $1,500 worth of insurance. How much will my insurance cover? They go, well, it'll cover $1,500 and your portion is going to be $6,000. The next words out of the patient's mouth, and I know you guys have heard it 100 times, well, can we just do one?
Always.
Which is the worst. So after doing this for year in, year out, and we're trained to do that because the third-party financing has said, you don't want to be the bank. You do not want to do this. Let us do it, when in fact they're only helping a certain number. Instead of saying, sure, we can just do one, which is done 95% of the time, why don't we say this? Why don't we say, absolutely, why don't we do this? Why don't we just use your $1,500 as a down payment, and let's get some convenient monthly payments for the rest. Now, having said that, it's going to be financing $6,000 at an average subprime. They're not the top people, but at $6,000, and it's at 15.9% interest, let's say on average, $140 a month for 60 months. But I'm going to give you a pill, and you'll be able to get all your work done at one time. Sitting here, I'm going to help you, and you're going to get all your work done. And I'm going to get, what am I going to get? I'm the dentist. I'm going to get $1,500 for two hours worth of work. Now, as far as I know, that's $750 an hour cash coming from an insurance company that's going to pay. I'm not worried about what insurance covers. I know they need it. So I'm going to get $1,500 from the insurance company. That's $750 cash. That happens to be $300 higher than the national average dentist in the country right now. So what else do you get? You also get $6,000 of high value, short duration paper paying you over a period of time. If you did one case a week, period, one case a week of $6,000 worth of financing, at the end of 1 year, you'd be having $5,200, $5,300 a month coming in. At the end of 5 years, you would have $26,000 a month coming in. You're helping one person a week for 2 hours that they were, by the way, they were going to leave anyway. They weren't going to have it done. They were going to have one done. Instead, right. You got $750 an hour cash, and now you've gone 60 months, and guess what you have? And this is after people are worried, what if they don't pay? This is after a 20% adjusted revenue based on defaults. 1 out of 5 defaults, plus the fees that CF charges. You would have a little bit under $1.2 million in paper, which is an asset, not a debt. You would have 1.2 million. And I can tell you within the next 5 years, we have people that will come in at the worst discount possible. Let's just say they offered you a 35% discount. They buy that paper from you for $775,000, $775,000. And you could do that every 5 years for the rest of your life. $775,000 cash. Wow. By helping one person a week. Now let's flip that and say you don't want to sell that paper. Let's just say you're going to take that $26,000 at the end of 5 years and you're going to invest that at 4%, a 4% return, and you're going to do that for 20 years. Do you know you're going to have $9.5 million in cash?
That's crazy.
You're helping one freaking person that needs it a week. Now, but no, you don't do that. We got to use third-party financing because if they don't pay me cash, I'll show you how to pay off your student loan. I'll show you how to take a vacation with your entire family to Europe for 2 weeks. I'll show you how to fund your retirement plan without affecting your income at all. You know, these are things we just got to think different. Sorry, I get a little passionate.
No, I love it. I love it. It's been working well I started using Compassionate Finance a couple months ago, and I'm loving it. I love the seamless process and the way the back end feels. It's super cool. It's amazing.
But if you just help one patient a week, you know, and help that. If you always looked at that one person who has insurance, and instead they say, I want to do 1 crown, but really they need $7,500 worth of work. That's their 20% down. Perfect. Take the $6,000 loan. What if 1 out of 5 doesn't pay you? You're still going to end up with $750,000 cash if you want to cash out every 5 years, or you're going to end up with $9 or $10 million. And we don't have a 20% default rate. Our default rate's much less than that. But I'm using that as just worst case scenario.
That's awesome. I love it. And we're also using Abella, by the way, too now.
Oh,
loving that.
Oh my God.
That's working really well for us.
Great. I want to hear more about it because, you know, for your story about it, because, you know, when we turn that on, it's an accounts receivable software. And when we turn it on, the phone starts ringing. People start paying.
Yeah. I mean, we're taking out the most common reason why busy professional people will not pay their bill. It's not because they don't have the money. It's just not convenient. You know, I've had my water bill turned off before. I've gone default on literally my water. They turned my water bill off because my city at the time, this is going back like 10 years ago, I had to bring a check down to if they accepted PayPal, I have no problem with it.
I need to buy you a water key. You know, you can just go out to the street and turn it back on, right, bud?
Oh, you know what? It wasn't my water. It was my gas. It was my natural gas. Now that yeah, I know it's that long thing. I know.
Yeah.
But no. It was my natural gas. So I had no hot water. The baby Sage was like 1 year old. This was 9 years ago. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. My hot water was out. My wife screaming at me, and I'm like, oh, I owed like $300 or something, or $200.
The next thing about Abella, you get it on your phone. You say, "Yep, I want to pay it." Oh, I need to call the office. You can hit that button, or you can just say,
here's a payment plan.
I need some payments, and 0 interest because it's after the fact. I believe in charging interest before the fact, but after the fact, you just want your money.
Right.
And we're seeing 35-40% increase in collections.
That is awesome.
It's just been, I don't know, and it's automated. The other thing I like about it, and what I really wanted to develop with it, is $299 a month, and you know, we don't take a piece of the action on everything that's collected. It's just $299 a month. Well, you're paying one of your teammates. You know, one of the teammates, they're working insurance and they're working accounts receivable. Here's what they do. They spend 83% of their time on hold with insurance companies and talking to insurance companies. They spend 17% of their time calling patients for money. They always pull the report and they start with the people who owe the most money and they work their way down because they can get the best bang for their telephone buck.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is, people don't answer the phone when they see Granbury Dental Center call because they know they owe you money. But also, many of them didn't know they owed you money. So now you get a text, email, they look at it and they go, gosh, I didn't know that. I want to look at my invoice. Oh, okay, I'm going to make a phone call. Or, yeah, I owe it. And they just push pay and it's paid. So it's a very, and now you're not taking away that job from your team member, but who's collecting the $9, the $42, the $16, $84? Everybody says in your collections department, here's what they're saying, Pete. They're saying, you know what? We'll get it from them when they come in next time.
Yep. Or it costs more to like stamp the envelope than.
Well, talking millennials, they don't open those envelopes anymore. Those go
Right.
file 13. Those go in the garbage. You're pissing money away. And so it's where they live. It's on their phone. It's automated. It's a no-brainer, in my opinion. Of course, it's one of my companies, but bottom line, it is a no-brainer. And that's the thing that's growing like crazy across the country. I hope to be like Care Credit and be in 85,000 offices helping, because it's what people want. And that really is the truth.
What is that, Pete?
It's a Ring doorbell chime that I can't turn off for some reason.
Somebody was at my door. I was just looking at mine.
It was a fairy that just entered my office, Craig.
Yeah.
Cool.
I thought that guy is you. Sorry. So let's go back to this for a second. So what's actually, in your opinion, can you do a Bella without doing compassion finance? Because I know I have them both.
Absolutely.
You can do one without the other?
Absolutely. You can do a Bella. I mean, a Bella is just a no-brainer. I mean, really, truthfully, a no-brainer. We have our ability to be able to have a team and a working compassionate finance. Everybody's over there. We're collecting the money. We're calling patients. We're calling doctors. We're doing that. A Bella, it's automated, and
that's awesome.
It's amazing, and it's something that we're making some real inroads in the DSO market, working with those guys. But I want every dentist to have that opportunity. And when we develop the software, why did we develop it? Well, I'm sitting here thinking, well, I have a girl that she's working all this time. She's not really working the AR. How could we do that where it's automated? We go into your software, we pull out the data, it goes bing, and it posts back. So, we had one person from 2015, it was $3,500. I never expected them to pay. And this is just last year. And they get on, they said, yes, I knew I owed you. Bing, they hit a button and they made $100 a month payments. So
that's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's just automates it. And your team, does anybody truly, I think I may have said this at the last Bulletproof. I don't know if I did or somewhere, but we did a survey, and the survey was, you love to wake up in the morning and do collection calls. It's the one thing that you can't wait to do, is to call people and ask for money. Number two, you would rather eat Brussels sprouts 5 days a week, or you would rather hike in the desert for 5 miles with no water. And we had 8% of the people that said that they wanted to wake up and make collection calls. The other 91% would rather either eat Brussels sprouts or go to the desert. And so that's how much fun that is. Now, there is that outlier who just loves to just freaking call people and say, give me my money. But I don't care who you're hiring. I don't care where you're at. Chances are your accounts receivable. So now our solution is we only do cash up front. Okay, well, that's great. I'd rather have options and ability to pay, because you're going to produce $100 a month and I'm going to produce $140 a month, because I have convenient payments. We do not have a lack. We do not have in dentistry, we do not have an access to care problem. That is the biggest farce that has ever been propagated by the ADA and by every local group. We need more dentists. We need more dental schools. We need all of this. We need more of them. That's total BS. We need better access to payment options, because the only options that most of the listeners have, it's been trained to your team, and it's nothing against Care Credit or anybody else, but it's 12 months interest free. So the problem with that is it's 12 months interest free. The problem is the people who are approved could write you a check for cash, Instead, you're going to take a 10% discount, which is 35% discount in your profit. And you're going to do that because someone told you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you get, you're on that tit, and you're going to go back to that same tit every day because it's the only one that's got
Took me
missed.
a second to think if you actually
Okay.
said that or not. I
Gotcha.
went into it. Yeah, it's true.
Well,
You
it's
go to the same tit
the
because
baby bottle, Craig. The baby bottle.
Oh, teat. I think you meant to say. No,
Well,
okay.
yeah.
No, I know. It's you get on the dole. I know.
So when I do it, but bottom line is we do not have. We have plenty of dentists. Most dentists, 50% of their schedule is open. Now they don't say that because they sit and fiddle fart around most of the day.
Yeah.
But if they were actually doing dentistry, they could find time for a lot more dentistry. But the reason they don't get to do it is because they don't have any financial options that they can offer. So
yeah. And also we're really, as a professional, we're really ill-equipped to tell patients what they need. And there's so many other things. Do you offer just like different types of workshops at PDA where you have like case acceptance workshop, and do you have that type of thing, or is it just one?
We do. I mean, it's basically our workshop, our 2.5-day workshop really is about case acceptance, verbal skills, a few things clinical, but very little. It's more about how do you talk to patients? How do you present to patients? How do we increase your hygiene growth? It's just all about communication. I mean,
and is it equally suited for owner and associate doctors?
It is. Matter of fact, we're setting, what we've done the last 2 years is we've really kind of focused on the associates too.
Good.
Because it used to be doctor's a doctor, but that's not true. Associates have different needs and different things going on. So we work with them in a different way. And we work with the owner docs in a different way. Because basically we've had to do that because as things have changed with productive dentists, as we've grown and as our practices have grown, now we have different problems, different issues to talk about. And those are all things that we focus on. Another one, we do a program that's a 1-day program specifically on your budget, building your budget. How do I get an account? I don't care about depreciation. I don't care about all those things that most dentists care about because they don't even know what it is. When they go to their accountant once a year, the accountant says, you owe $4,200. They go, oh man, I didn't know that. But they don't know how their business is doing because they're getting post, a month and a half later. Right. What I want them to know is the beginning of this month, I want to know what you're going to do for that month. And how do you do that? You set goals. You set, if you and I and Pete work together, we would all have a guarantee that we're going to give to the practice. You're going to produce X amount and you're going to produce X amount and I'm going to produce. That's our commitment to the business. Hygiene, we set goals. That's your commitment to the business. Now I know exactly what we're going to make. We're going to collect $523,000 this month if we all reach our goals. And then what do? We look at our goals on Monday. Then on Wednesday, we visit it. On Friday, we celebrate, or we say, it's not the person, it's the system. What are you doing different than so-and-so? And how do we make this work in the big picture? That's how you grow a business. At least that's the way.
Yeah, and what's funny is, and I know we could talk to you all day, Bruce. So I don't want to take too much of your time. But the one thing that I've just realized is there's certain people in this world, and I vibe really well with them, and Pete does as well. They're growth mindset people. There's fixed and growth mindset. There's some people in this world that have to break through. They're always making excuses. Well, it's because I live in Canada, or it's because I'm in California, or it's because I'm here. And I get a lot of people, and I've had actually quite a few people just DM me, message me on Instagram and stuff like that. I'm sure you know how it is in Canada. Canada, you can't get people to work for you. Or even in my own practice, I have doctors like, well, I'm on insurance, so my patients don't say yes. Why is this doctor getting 46% case acceptance or treatment acceptance, and you're getting 25%? Well, they have a different patient base in the same building.
Same building.
So it's so wild that your fixed mindset is so entrenched in you that even in the same building, you could start making exceptions. Well, maybe my operatory is not the same size. Well, actually, they're all the same size. So the biggest challenge you can do is...
I had to break through the Australia group because as well in Australia, we have this, and this. Guys, it all comes down to this. And what was funny is I had one doc that was there, probably no question, the most successful dentist in Australia. And he's got the same mindset that you have and I have and Pete has. I mean, it's, and he's killing it.
It's incredible. And it's funny because there's one guy that I'm thinking of is a good buddy of mine. Fixed mindset, getting really heavy too. You know, it's getting really heavy. I'm like, well, what's going on? Why are you getting so heavy? Why are you getting so much weight? Had a baby. You know, everybody knows that when you have a baby, you know, you get heavy. I'm like, well, could it be, are there people that have babies and are 10 times busier than you and I are combined, and they're fitter than you and I are? It's just such an interesting thing in life. I think the one takeaway from this mindset between the three of us is whenever you're pointing a finger at something, there's three fingers pointing back at you. Take a look in the mirror. It'll feel better when you own your result and you own the responsibility. It actually is lighter. It feels better for you. I mean, you're super humble, Bruce. You always come in and say how much you've got your ass kicked and how much money you've lost. And that's why you're happy and fulfilled, because you're kind of just learning along the way, just like the rest of us.
Yeah. Somebody told me a long time ago, and it's kind of what got me all involved in everything that I do, but it says, just do whatever you're going to do and be the best. My dad taught me that. He was a Marine. And then somebody else told me, you know, be the best and then help other people be their best, you know, or you know, find ways to help them be the best. And that's kind of what's led to all my other businesses, to try to help. My funny thing about, you know, I take it real personal when people are doing compassionate finance. I take it real personal when they're doing development, because I know they're collecting and I know that it's helping and I know they're creating more wealth, but it's really has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with their family and their kids and all the things that are behind the scenes there. I go to New York 8 years ago and met with the bond traders at Guggenheim, because I know we've now done over 300 million in paper, and that's about to ramp to where we're doing 20 million to 30 million a month in paper.
Wow.
And now I go to those guys. We were doing 25,000 a month in loans. But I go to meet the bond traders with a very, very well-known guy that works with dentists. And I'm sitting with these bond traders, and I've got blue jeans on and a nice golf shirt and my boots. And these guys they're all 29 to 30. And they got their suits on with a tie. And they walk in, they go, man, this is an amazing concept. I love the concept. I really think this is amazing. The first words out of their mouth after that was, how much do you think these dentists will take for their paper? That's what the bond traders want to know. How much do you think they will take for their paper? And I said, you know what? I come from a little town, 6,000 people, Granbury, Texas. I flew all the way to New York City. And you know, the first words out of your mouth was, how much do you think these dentists will take for their paper? And you know what I want to know? How much will you pay for it? And bottom line is they will lowball you because that's the concept of buying paper. You know, they're going to pay you 50 cents on the dollar. They're going to pay you 40 cents on the dollar. No, I want to know what it's worth and what you're going to pay for it, because these are my dentists. These are my buddies. These are my friends. And, you know, I'm not going to lowball. I want you to get 80 cents on the dollar. I want you to get 90 cents on the dollar if you decided to ever sell that paper. And, you know, but everybody's out to get the dentist, you know, try to.
Yeah, I know. We're so easily preyed upon. And it's just because look at our profession. We build these 20, 25 year relationships with people. We build trust. We get to help people that ever haven't screwed them over. And there's a lot of businesses like those bond traders. They have, in order for them to really win, someone's got to get hurt. And that's just not us. And no, that's not who you.
And so, you know, with everything I do, my biggest thing is first of all, is it working? Is it something that's helping people? And how can I help more? You know, how can we make it better? Right. And, you know, as long as we keep doing that, I'm going to be plenty busy. You know, I'm going to be 65 this year, and hopefully I live to be 105, but I hope to do that for the next 40 years, you know, and I'm not retired. I'm just not practicing clinically as much as I used to. So,
yeah. I think it's awesome. Well, I mean, listen, your values and who you are as a person just make me honored to have you here with us on this podcast, and also for the upcoming event. I just love having you there. It's such a breath of fresh air. You know, when you get to work with people who have to share the same values and principles, it's really cool. And I think that's good advice for people. If you can have fun and work hard with good people around you that share the same values and principles, consider yourself blessed. So that's how we feel about you, Bruce.
We're so excited to see you in a couple of weeks.
It's just a couple of weeks away, right?
Yeah, we're in your backyard. Are you driving to Houston for that?
Oh, he's taking his private jet.
Yeah, I'm going to fly. I'm going to fly in on my private American jet.
Okay, good. Yeah. I got a private seat as well on a 324 passenger Airbus, so I'm excited as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. So I always enjoy going to Houston. So the ICOI meetings there that same week. So
I know, it's funny you say that. Actually, a bunch of docs in my practice are going to that as well. So they're going to be popping in and out. So I found that out.
I'm going to run over on Thursday when I land.
Yeah.
Just run over and see some buddies, and then I'll be there Thursday late afternoon. And so
Nice.
I'm looking forward to the whole meeting. I looked at the lineup, and man, I got a lot to learn. So I'm ready to listen.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're all gonna be learning. Good
Yeah,
stuff, Bruce. Thanks for your time today. Pete, good to see you, bud.
Okay, Craig.
All right, boys.
See you in a couple weeks.
Oh yeah, man.